Welcome back.
Welcome back, my friend. How are you?
I'm good.
Look at you.
Monday morning. How's it going? How was Florida?
Florida was great. Look, it's like nothing happened while I was gone.
Similar prices for sure.
You drove the boat really well.
Still here. Everything's still working.
Good
Allegedly,
week.
we'll see. Solid week.
Solid
Good
week.
Back and forth. Heading into FOMC.
So how was the weekend? What'd you do?
What did I do this weekend?
Well, you
Not
get
too much.
Prep for your trip.
Yeah, we're putting the last finishing touches on this money pit of a 2.5 week Japan trip, which is now it's just like scheduling the trains and everything. Now all these places I didn't anticipate. They'll ask you like, oh, when are you arriving? Like we'll send a shuttle or something from our place. And I'll be like, oh, like we're gonna get there like at like 3 on whatever it is, like April 5th, whatever. And they're like, well, there's no train that gets in at 3. and so I'm like, okay, I got it. So I need to literally schedule every single, because I guess the trains run exactly on time. And so that's the last piece that it's like, all right, I have to go in, because we're doing a lot of traveling throughout the country. And
These
it's
are
like
tough pieces if you haven't run the circuit once before.
Well, and I'm sure like there's going to be at some point, you know, we're running late for something and we're going to miss some train. It's just like inevitable that we're not going to catch every single
and
bus
I take
and
it
train.
Uber and Lyft are not competing out along the trail there?
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to be able. I'm going to be able to schedule. I mean, an Uber from like Osaka. I don't even know how many miles. What would it effectively be like a 2.5 hour train
Is there
ride?
an Uber and Lyft in?
They
I would
have
think there
some
would be.
taxi service called Go, but again, I don't think you're getting like outside the
Right.
city. And we're doing a lot of like, yeah, it'll be fun once we get there, but stupidly, I'm like, oh yeah, let's not just go to Tokyo and Osaka and these places. Let's spend 5 days on this trail in the middle of nowhere going between these small towns. And so that's what I'm really worried about is like, if anything messes up there, what happens? But
Okay,
it
how
should be
much
good.
luggage?
So this is one of the nice things is they'll transport all your luggage. So I've actually already
From
booked,
place to place to
I've already
place?
booked. We're not bringing a ton of stuff, but I've booked transportation for the luggage pretty much every step of the way.
Wow. Because
And
I
so-
know what we packed. I went to Florida for 2 days for a conference with JJ.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met my wife on the other side of the state, and we spent 5 days there.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of luggage. So, for considering how short a stay it was, but I tend to it's amazing how much junk you end up putting in.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually pretty good. We used almost everything we packed,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just packing a lot. So
Yeah, this is going to be hopefully a pretty efficient trip. There's, I've bought a lot of Lululemon stuff, more Lululemon stuff, in anticipation of like.
look at you. I have a special surprise for you after the show, too.
Oh, really?
Yes. I don't want to ruin it now. We can save it for tomorrow's show. But this is exciting stuff. So you got new string pants.
I honestly, I was just like, I need the most efficient clothing for packing for 2.5 weeks. Because, yeah, part of it's like, I'm going to be
does
on this
roll up
hiking
there.
trail, for 5 days, but also, yeah, like clothes for 2.5 weeks. With the luggage travel, it's not so bad with the transportation. But, yeah, it's a lot of stuff to juggle. But
And what's the weather going to be like?
it's supposed to be at this point. I was checking the weather this week, and the place that we're doing all the hiking and everything is supposed to be like 50s, 60s.
In the morning, is it one of the? Are you a little higher up, so it's cooler in the morning and then it warms up?
Yeah, but it's actually like more south than the major cities. So
Oh, okay.
so I
See,
think
I was thinking the other way
it's
around.
supposed to
I
be
was
like
thinking you're going north.
warmer. And the only other thing is it's supposed to rain. It's like you've been to Hawaii before, right? Where
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. You go to Hawaii, it says it rains every single day. It rains for like
But yeah.
7 minutes, and then it's
That's
sunny
what that's what they say, and that's what I'm hoping is that like, oh yeah, it's supposed to rain, especially in the spring, but it's supposed to be just like, oh, it'll rain for 20 minutes and then like that's pretty much it. So, yeah, man, I'm excited, but a little nervous, and that's really it. And avoiding the St. Patrick's Day. Did you get in on Saturday?
No, Sunday.
Oh, so you didn't see any of the St. Patrick's Day? It's the same
What's
every
to
year.
see? It's the same. I could watch a video from 5
Yeah.
years ago. I see the boat turning the river green.
It's just always funny. We went to a yoga class on Saturday morning, and like walking back from this class, and there's just like a lot more people on the street at 9 a.m. than a normal Saturday morning.
And was this green beer yoga?
It was not green beer yoga. It was, nothing, no St. Patrick's Day theme to the yoga, but the streets were, everybody is wearing green. Honestly, at this point in my life, I'm starting to take offense to it as an Irish guy.
So I take it you did not. Now, when is the Southside Irish Parade?
It was yesterday.
Sunday.
Because I think it's the
always
Sunday.
the Sunday, right?
Is it the Sunday before St. Patrick's Day? I don't remember, but I think it is. It was yesterday.
Okay.
But yeah, Saturday is the city
Because
festivities.
Beverly's the hub of that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's a big weekend for Beverly, a big weekend for Chicago. I guess people don't do this like anywhere else. Everybody comes here to do the St. Patrick's Day thing. It's not like, oh yeah, you could go to like Cleveland or whatever.
So did you guys then just hide the rest of the day?
Pretty much. Thankfully, it was the weather got progressively worse, and then if you got back yesterday.
I was talking to my son on
weather.
Friday. He goes, "Yeah, it's 70." I'm going, "Well, it's 73 in Florida. You guys are doing pretty good."
Yeah, it was.
And when I landed, I'm looking out the window, and it's like I've got no jacket. Mm-hmm. And I go.
Sunday is bad.
I go into the gift shop in the Sarasota airport, and they've got like really bad sweatshirts for $60.
Sure.
I of course find the one that's marked 80% off.
Nice.
But it's a 3XL. So
did you get that one?
I got that one.
Oh,
and my wife came back. It was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Listen, I'm not. This is not a keeper. This is just transitory travel wear."
Yeah.
So we did that.
It was. Thankfully, the weather got worse, and so there was not a lot of going outside post noon.
So it got
Saturday.
worse on Saturday then too.
Yeah, it was just like kind of crazy. I mean, just like windy, but nothing too bad. But yeah, seeing all the people at 9 a.m. with cases of Michelob Ultras and stuff, I was like, I don't need to spend so much time. I think
Now, your
outside
significant
today.
other has never experienced this before, short of last year. What was her thoughts?
Yeah, I think she's from Oklahoma. Again, like I don't think anybody does this. I don't think there's any expectations for like, oh, it's St. Patrick's Day, like we should go do whatever. And I think it was last St. Patrick's Day that we went to a party, and an old friend of mine, this young blonde woman who's married, was talking to me.
You said the nuclear word.
It's not. Yeah, the blonde thing is not great with my brunette girlfriend. But she was like talking to me. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and she's talking to me, and she's drunkenly like, now she's crying, talking to me because she didn't invite me to her wedding, and she's all. And Callie was mad for 48 hours about that.
Seething mad or regular mad?
It was no. That was the one of the maddest I've ever seen.
That was the seething mad.
So we don't do so much of the same, which is like at this point in my life, it's like I've cut down on so much of the volatility. It's like I don't even go out on St. Patrick's Day and like do the drinking and everything else and everything else that I would do in the past. But still, it's like, man, I don't think I should be around partying at all. Where it's like I'm soberly standing here, and this woman is drunkenly crying, and I'm getting in trouble for this. It's like I guess I just shouldn't go to it.
Well, I mean, you're a little young to go the hermit route, but
I don't know. On White Lotus, the daughter that wants to become a Buddhist monk.
Don't ruin it. I'm too behind.
More.
Behind.
It's nothing, but yeah, I could see it. Thailand Buddhist monk.
I think we start this week with shaving your head.
Perfect.
And seeing how that goes for a week.
I think I have an oddly shaped head, so I don't know how good that'll go.
And then we'll get you in the robe, whatever.
The big like orange or like yellow, whatever that color is. It could look nice on me. I'm down.
I think it could be fantastic. It could be quite a change.
Well, we're glad that you're back, Pete. Here we have relatively unchanged markets to when you left, but a good deal of back and forth. I guess we can start with this euro-dollar piece. Looking at the 15-minute chart, I'll actually bump that up to an hourly chart.
We're starting out the week. I mean, it's interesting. We've seen good rotation because dollar Canada got sold hard. Kiwi finally got a bid to it.
Yeah.
Aussie got a bid to it, and it was a good bid. And what I mean by that is starting Friday and going through all last night, irrespective of SPOOs up or down, rates up or down, they didn't care. Yeah, if SPOOs fell, the Kiwi would roll over, but not like what it used to, which is 40, 50 points. It'd roll over 3 or 4 pips and then continue. That is some really solid tape action.
Very, very consistently. The only piece, I guess, going from last week that is trending outside of its range seems to be this New Zealand dollar and Australian dollar. Now, these have been the weakest pieces of the last couple of weeks.
We talked about catch up versus. Do you buy the leader? Do you buy the laggard? And I think there is a point where once the sentiment changes a little bit, I mean the overall dollar sentiment, these do tend to get a little bit more interest to them. But you can't race that. In other words, that move in euro was so euro specific. You can't just say, well, the New Zealand should be 1% higher because of the euro.
Sure.
This just speaks to really a changing in. And when you look at the daily here, and this is one where you could say, oh, I didn't buy the 56s. I didn't buy the 56 and a halves. Gave me 3 times to buy them down there. Sure, it did. But when you look at just going back, what's mid-range here? 61, 62 cents?
Sure, yeah. If you go back far, if you go back the last year, we're not even mid-range in terms of trading in these commodity currencies. If you're going back the last couple of months, definitely the weakest pieces, as I again bring up this euro dollar, you see it's been a hell of a run to above mid-range for the last year of trading. Now finally these commodity currencies starting to wake up a little bit. And yeah, to your point, Pete, I mean, now this is a couple trading sessions in a row of strength for the New Zealand dollar, for the Australian dollar that we'll bring up as well. Starting to get to the upside of the range in 2025 will be super interesting to see, especially on a week like this where there's not a lot of data around New Zealand, Australia, and Canada per se, but there's a ton of data around the U.S. and Japan and the UK, which we'll see how relevant that is for this piece. It'll be really interesting to see if they continue that strength, like you say, SPOOs up, SPOOs down, these markets continuing to trade higher. Will the Aussie conclude this week above 64 cents? Will this Kiwi piece conclude this week above 58 cents and try to break into a little bit of a different range than we've seen the first couple of months of the year? Because this has been probably the most range-bound piece.
Absolutely. Dollar yen, dollar Swiss, safe haven, not safe haven. They've acted so differently. What are your thoughts going back? Now, again, they're Swiss and yen are both seeing a nice bid. Dollar Swiss, dollar yen getting sold. Pulling back a little bit here off the lows, but what are your thoughts of these quote-unquote safe haven currencies where it seems, at least for the start of the week, it's a little safer out there?
Yeah, it'll be super interesting on a Fed week like this one because the dollar yen and I think the Swiss franc piece has been, yes, safe haven-y or more flight to quality-ish than it was a couple of months ago. But I still think that the interest rate differential in these markets is going to drive a lot of the price action moving forward. And I think you saw it last week where VIX didn't come off until the end of the week. And this dollar yen bounced back earlier in the week. And so you started to see a little bit of the U.S. interest rate stability play through this piece before VIX came off huge at the end of last week. Now you're seeing dollar get sold a little bit at the start of this week, which will be interesting to see if that continues. They tried last night 149.
Yeah.
And again, this is a funny piece where it's like at certain points last week, we thought that 145 was coming. And just like that, this dollar able to regain ground
Right.
back up to 150.
While at the
in
same time,
dollar
euro
yen.
gave no ground whatsoever.
That's exactly right.
And looking at euro yen, you could probably see that play through really nicely.
Yeah, that's been an emerging piece of interesting non-dollar cross pair is this euro yen. Yeah, now trading around 162 and not really giving up any ground up there amid that euro strength. But yeah, I mean, to your point, to start 109 in this euro is pretty much where you left it. They've tried to take it higher, they've tried to take it lower, but it seems like this market is content to just be pegged around 109 as we head into the FOMC.
So FOMC on Wednesday. Curious to see your thoughts because no rate cut expected basis the Fed watch tool and everything. They can always do whatever they want. It's funny. Over the weekend I read, there's nothing to come of this. Statement will be parsed for any changes in words. I think it's kind of a nothing burger. I don't think they're going to use a bullet to quote unquote save the stock market by saying that they're going to lean. I'm sure they're going to say we're going to be data sensitive or maybe in a hyper way because the impact of jobs cuts through Doge or whatever, or a lot of that's being reversed as we speak, though. I don't think they're going to use quote unquote a bullet to try to support the stock market with this Fed meeting.
For sure.
Will the market look on that, though, as disappointing? Will they expect that? Or is this just kind of going to be, we know the market's going to move around this. They're going to parse words and we'll get a little bit of spike. Anything meaningful in your mind come out of a benign statement? And is that benign statement, benign not in a pejorative way, but just an average statement that doesn't change much? Does that disappoint the market in some way?
I mean, I have no clue how it's going to end up, but these meetings tend to be the ones where you see huge moves on what's expected in the future. I couldn't agree with you more, and the market couldn't agree with you more, that there's no expectation for anything coming this week. But in terms of what the projections say, because we're going to get a dot plot and what Powell says, I think there's a strong chance to talk down the idea of a rate cut in May or in June, where it's really priced in, almost a 75% chance that rates are lower, the market's saying, by June. The last thing that we heard from Powell was probably the greatest amount of confidence that we've gotten for the U.S. economy in the last 2 weeks, which was, we're not really scared by this short-term turbulence. We're not looking at cutting rates to, fix this short-term volatility that we see in the market. We're still looking at volatility. We're still looking at data. And if you remember that, you saw equities rally on that. You saw U.S. interest rates rally on that. You saw U.S. dollar rally on that. And so, I mean, if nothing's changed, I think there's an opportunity for a no cut, but a hawkish vibe to come from the Fed, with the idea of we've obviously moved lower from the highs of interest rates that we had several months ago, but we're not in an aggressive rate cut environment. And what that means for the U.S. dollar, I think could potentially be super strong. And you see the fact that, 75% chance, 74, 73, whatever it is.
So you think, and jump to D's, because this is what's interesting, and this is something I learned from you, is go out the whole year and look to see where they've shifted it, because this 3 months ago had one rate cut priced into it, basically. Now it's a solid,
1 month ago. 1 month ago,
it's a solid three. It's a solid three. Again, a wider distribution because it's further out in time. But
there's a number of ways you can look at this. But if you go out, so this column here is 1 month ago, what the market was expecting, and that was already, we're starting to see some turbulence around tariffs, and equities are not blowing out the highs 1 month ago. But a month ago, there was a 15% chance of no change in interest rates the whole year. Now, that's not a huge chance, but between that and only one cut, we're talking about now almost a 50% chance of either unchanged or just one cut this year. You look now at the distribution, and it's not drastically different, but now you've got only a 3% chance of no change, only a 15, 16% chance of just one cut, and the majority of the distribution
is 2.5.
Is 2 to 3 cuts. And so if Powell still thinks, like he did a couple of weeks ago, that nothing's changed, and all of this volatility that we're seeing in equities, and he doesn't necessarily control so much equities, really, it's interest rates he definitely controls, and then the US dollar can be very closely tied to that interest rate action, and then equities and gold and all these different things, it's less direct of a correlation there. If he still thinks that nothing's changed, but now Eurodollar has gone from 102 to 109, and he comes out and says, yeah, like we're only looking at maybe one, maybe two cuts this year. He's never that clear, but if that's what the words are digested as, and this distribution goes back to where it was a month ago, I think you could see some big reversals in that US dollar.
And that was my question to you. So you think we got to wait till Wednesday? Because right now we're at 109.5, 68 cents in Kiwi. We're at kind of pivot points of either the high end of the range or the range.
For sure.
You think we're going to have to wait for the clarity of Wednesday to breach those? Because sometimes the market gets impatient and it moves beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of catches everybody off guard.
I think we could see some huge spikes back and forth. I mean, look at we've seen, 50, 60, 70 point ranges around 109 here. But yeah, I think that it'll be Bank of Japan on Tuesday night, Fed on Wednesday afternoon, and then Bank of England on Thursday.
Yeah, that is trifecta. We're going to have a good week trading. Yeah. Gold 3007. Is it helping, hurting Aussie, it doesn't matter?
I don't think it's I can't find gold correlated to anything right now. It was correlated to equities for a good chunk of the last couple of years, but now equities are coming off and gold is moving high.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. I think that's a one-off story.
No, because you got platinum rallying, copper rallying, silver rallying. It's just a bimetal story.
It's funny. A lot of the risk-on assets are becoming more correlated amid a spike in volatility, but it seems like those non-risk-on assets outside of equities, everything seems to be a one-off story at this point. It'll be really interesting to see, but we got plenty of time to talk about it later this week. Pete, thanks so much for getting back here, my friend. Tom, Tony, and Vanetta coming up next. Everybody stick around for that. Peace.
You can get up to $4,000 when you open and fund a new account with tastytrade. That's 4,000 buckaroos, 4,000 bills, or clams, 4,000 in dough or cheddar, not the cheesy kind. 4 large, 4K, 4 grand, which is no small thing. Open and fund a new tastytrade account and get on the platform for traders who just want to trade. And did we mention a bonus of up to 4,000 smackaroos?